We'll go through some of these questions, but I will commit to everybody that you will be going on time, so don't worry how big the box is. So, first question, Niall. How do you think we can move towards a place where children's mental health is seen as a children's rights issue?
I think we're moving in that direction now. I think it's more and more, as I say, the Oireachtas Committee have put it forward as a children's rights issue. That's the Oireachtas Committee on Education. I think within the Department of Education there's much more movement to the understanding of children's rights and hearing the voice of the child and doing things with children at the centre of it. So I do think we're moving in that direction. I think we as a country, for me the answer is always that we need to incorporate the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child into Irish legislation so that every department, whether it's Department of Transport, Sport, Education, wherever it is, housing, has to ask themselves, is this in the best interest of the child, or is this in line with the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child? That's the way forward in the long term, but I do think we're moving in the right direction where more and more of the decision makers recognise children's rights as being crucial. And as was mentioned earlier, I think it was Louise mentioned earlier, with the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child, are going to challenge the government very, very strongly this year, or January coming up, about their progress since 2016. I was at that last meeting in 2016, challenging the government, and I'd just say I think there's been very poor progress in regards to mental health for children. There's been some nods in the right direction. There's a thing called the Pathfinder Project, which has been committed to by the Secretary-General of Health, Education and Children for the last 7 years. Money was put aside for 4 years, budget was put aside for 4 years to make this would be where the high levels principal officers and assistant principal officers would work together with an assistant secretary across the 3 departments so that they could work together to make it easier for children to get access to mental health. It's never come into being. It's been committed to for 7 years. So again, for me, that is a huge dereliction of duty and commitment. And I think the time has come when children's rights has to be put forward strongly. And I think this is a great opportunity for the government.
Thank you. A more specific question here. I have a 12-year-old boy in 6th class. He doesn't have any friends in school and spends break times mostly alone. He doesn't like the behaviour and the language, which is very vulgar, that his classmates use, and he himself has come to the conclusion that he can't fit in. It's becoming a serious issue for us as parents and, of course, for himself as a child. Any thoughts, guidance, direction or reference would be highly appreciated. Whoever wants to take it.
I think really in those sort of situations it's about communicating again with the class teacher and explaining actually these are the concerns that the child has, because unless teachers aren't mind readers, they're not aware of everything that's going on. So actually if there is a wider issue, I would be communicating that with the class teacher or the principal, I think, in the school.
Okay, thank you. Nicely passed, Niall.
I'm good, but I know my limitations.
Okay, so this one's definitely for you, because it starts with in Ireland. Okay, so in Ireland we can be a lot about the talking and little about the action. What are the immediate next steps that we can do to fully implement things moving forward with regard to mental health supports for children?
Yeah, I worked very closely with Professor Jeffrey Shannon, who was the children's rapporteur and special on child protection, and he used to talk about Ireland creating the best reports in the world. The sort of Oscar Wilde and Keats, just the concept of being great writers in Ireland. But then he said we suffer from implementation deficit disorder. So we have all the best reports on this up here, but we don't implement them, and that's the reality of it. In regards to this, I think what we have, again, it's solution focused. We have an opportunity here with the push from the INTO. Hopefully, I'm engaging with the Department of Education to try and make this possible. I know Anya and many others are talking to them as well. I think there's an opportunity here to get a budget in place for 2023 that can build a pilot, which in turn can build a service. Again, as I say, hopefully the evidence for me is overwhelming that it's well past its time to make this happen. A successful pilot in maybe, I don't know, one city and one urban or one rural setting or something like that would be highly encouraging, and I think it'll win when we do it. But I think that's the push now would be to support they ask for a budget for children's mental health within schools, in situ, in a way that can really lead to a new service being developed in a way that's sustainable across the whole country.
Thank you. The next one, and I think from your annual reports, this issue is something that comes to your office quite a lot, is the bullying and cyberbullying. And they're asking how can schools be better supported to combat bullying and in particular cyberbullying?
Well, first of all, I know that the department are working on a review of the anti-bullying policies at the moment, which I think is hugely important. It's 10 years since the last set of policies came out, and there's a whole new range of issues that children have been bullied over. I think we need to get better data. We've been asking for the government to ask every school. Every school has to have an anti-bullying policy, and that's one that we keep check on, and they check up on that. We now need to ask every school, what are the issues that bullying is coming in for? Is it racism? Is it sectarianism? Is it sexism? Is it sexual identity? Whatever. Is it body shaming? Is it consent? Is it sexual? We need to get that data so that we can really start to help the schools and the parents to provide a better culture that protects the children in general ahead of things, and then set the culture of respect within schools in a new way. Cyberbullying, I think it's important to, especially as parents, to be hearing what James O'Higgins Norman, my apologies, said. Cyberbullying is only on its own is only 1%. There's always face-to-face. There's always reality bullying going on as well. So let's make sure we remember that. But I think we need to, again, we've been struggling with this step forward in technology as Coleman Noctor talked about the iPhone baby, 13 years old now. We need to acknowledge, in Ireland we have a thing where we really want to be the best IT country in the world. We've got all the best big companies here. We've got all the best staff going to them. We're training our people to be in STEM so that they can go to these big multinationals. And yet we still want our primary schools not to have phones. Let's not have mobile phones. That's dangerous. We need to go the other way. We need to go down to our primary schools at junior infant and say, listen, this is how you use IT safely. This is what you should do. This is how you set privacy settings. So it's just being aware of creating a culture in which a child knows how to keep themselves safe. Obviously, that would need broadband and everywhere. It would need access to IT equipment. It would need a reality check that says we are going to start helping our children and our parents in the same way. So it's about society not being all of one and all of another. So some schools will say there's no phones. Some schools will say you can have phones at certain times. We need to just create a proper culture that says phones are part of our nature. I mean, now there's no child now under 3 that doesn't swipe things. You know, that's what they're doing. That's what they've taught. You've all got, all the toys are now that way. We've got to acknowledge that and let's go with that. Within schools, let's do it once in a while. But while you're doing it, these are the rules that go with it, and that helps you build. By the time you get to 10 or 11, you should know the rules of the road for cyber safety. So that's probably a little bit.
Very good. I've just opened a few all together, and they're all around the same topic, which is really parents asking, what do they do if a school refuses to investigate a bullying issue in the school?
Well, from my point of view, I mean, again, once you've given the school the opportunity to look at your complaint and you're not happy with the complaint, you can certainly come to us. I mean, I've always said to anywhere, use our office as a resource. We have a free phone number. It's 1800 20 20 40. Talk to our staff on the phone. If we can do something, we'll let you know. If we can't do something, we'll let you know. And if we need to point you in a different direction, we'll let you know. But I think from our point of view, a lot of schools are doing the right thing and then not communicating with parents why they made decisions, or they're not making any decisions and they're not communicating either. So what I would suggest is you contact us if you've got a concern and we can lead you. And if it is a case that we have to send you back to local procedures, we'll tell you that. But once you go back and you're still not happy, you can then come to us as well. So it's engage with us, let us know what the issue is, and we'll guide you in the best way forward as to what happens there. Because there's so much uncertainty within schools about how to deal with certain bullying issues, and what you think is bullying is different to what I think is bullying. And that sort of uncertainty can be difficult for parents to understand if the school hasn't communicated it properly. So yeah, that's probably my...
And just also on that particular point with schools and what people think is bullying and not bullying, the anti-bullying procedures in school is within the context of the whole code of behaviour in school. So even if a piece of behaviour that your child has experienced is not deemed to be bullying, there is still a whole policy within the school called the code of behaviour that schools can investigate any accusations of negative behaviour within the school and deal with it through that code. So if you are being told that something isn't bullying, ask to see the school code of behaviour and go through the process of that as well. So it's in a wider context of behaviour. So lots of behaviours aren't bullying, but they're equally distressing to children. So there is a code of behaviour in every school, and if you look at that, often schools have them on the website. When you enrolled your child in the school, you were probably asked to sign a form to say that you agreed with the code of behaviour. So it's a really good policy to go back and look at and see if that can help you navigate a path within the school as well to getting something resolved. We're just running out of time, so I think this is a really nice question maybe to finish on, Niall. How transformative do you think the provision of a national mental health service in primary schools would be?
It would be massive. Again, I'm showing my age here, but 1999, Bertie Ahern, the Taoiseach, gave an apology to all the children and the adults at that stage who had gone through the institutional abuse, institutional background, and Magdalen, Andrews, all these different places where abuse occurred. And as a result of that apology, he set up the National Counselling Service in 2003, which provided a service in 10 different locations around the country, deliberately set up to be free and available to all adults over 18 who had suffered abuse within an hour's drive. And that has transformed the services for children or for adults with sexual abuse, and it's made them available to every adult who needed them. This would be the same. It would transform the concept of what children need as a well-being, as what you talked about, worried well, that sort of lower the level just below dangerous mental health issues, and it would take a huge burden off that first tier that Coleman talked about that's currently narrow, and takes away the expanded tier that's 2 where CAMS, community CAMS is based at the moment, and everybody's formed into that. So it would change all of the services in a very, very positive manner. But the basic thing would be that the child who's distressed in school would have a safe place to go and would be able to come out the other end much quicker because it's an early intervention situation. So just on an individual basis, but also on a macro basis, it would be hugely transformative.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Niall. And I suppose we're at 10 to 4 now, and I've promised you out of the door on time. So first of all, I'd just like to thank Sarah and Niall for everything that they've given us this afternoon. So thank you very much. And I'd also like to again thank Coleman Nocta, Sonia Ryan, who's still with us, John Boyle, Louise O'Leary, and John Driscoll for their input this morning as well.